In this video, I'm going to show you two different ways that you can make a ball bounce around on the screen in TouchDesigner. The reason why I'm showing this is because one way is sort of like maybe what you would, how you would approach it if you were doing an intro ball bouncing around kind of sketch in something like P5 or processing. And then the other one is a bit different, and it's a different way of approaching the same problem that is more specific to how TouchDesigner works. Either way works, but they're kind of, we're trying to solve two different problems. So let's start out with the easier one, which is how do we get a ball to just bounce around like the old school DVD logo, right? Like it's just bouncing around within the bounds of the screen. So the first thing is I want to make a circle. So I'll add a circle top, and I want to make sure that its resolution is 720p in my case. And I'll go back to the size and just change that radius so it's much smaller. Okay. Now I want to make this go to an out top so that I can actually see it in the perform window. And then the next thing I want to do is change its center location. There's a center X and a center Y. By changing these, I can make it go back and forth if I change that first one. So that's what I'm going to do. I want it to go, I want it to move forward until it hits the edge and then switch its direction. And this is actually simpler than it would be in something like P5. So let's look at how we do this. So the first thing is we're going to use a speed chop. And speed, if given some constant, let me add a constant here. If given some constant, it will just kind of accelerate at that rate. So if I add like, some value here, you can see it goes up at a certain rate. If I make that value smaller, it goes at a slower rate. Okay, I'm going to just turn this down to 0, and I could click here on the speed parameters and choose pulse to pulse the reset. So it's back at 0. But this is the channel that I want to control my circle X. So let's make this viewer active and connect it using a chop reference to center X. Okay, so now again, if I turn this up, I should see that it starts moving. Great, and I can slow it down or speed it up. Let me just reset this one more time. Now, I want it to stay within a certain range, right? And we know from other videos that the range here for the circle is -0.5 to 0.5. It's very easy to do this. We don't even need math chop to do this. There's a great way to do it, which is to use a limit chop and just set it to zigzag. So it'll go one way and then the other as between this minimum range, which is going to be -0.5, and then a maximum range, which is 0.5. So let's turn up the speed and try it again. And that's it. It's bouncing back and forth, but if you look closely, you can see that it's bouncing off the screen, and that's because we haven't taken into account the radius of the circle. So the center of the circle is causing it to switch direction when it hits the edge of the screen. So we should be able to change that pretty easily. I think here under minimum, what we can do is let me rename this circle just C. Might make a little less typing. So I'll go to limit, and instead of just putting in a number here, I actually can put in a Python expression. So I will add to that the operator called C, its radius X parameter. And now let's see if when it gets to the left, it bounces in the right place. So I've added the radius there. I think what I need to do for the maximum is subtract the radius. And it should be working. Hit the left one and hit the right one. Okay, great. So that's how we can make it zigzag back and forth. Now, I think probably I should be able to just copy this stuff and do the same thing for the Y. So here, this will become our Y value. So let me just drag this over here and make a chop reference for the Y. So it seems to be working, but our trick of adding the radius doesn't seem to have the same effect. And you can see it is doing something. It's compensating a bit, but it's not the right value. And the reason for that is, well, actually, let me see if I can change this. If I change this to a square size, like, is there not a square size here? Okay, 512 by 512. We'll see that it does work. But what's happening is when I change it to something that has a different aspect ratio, this is -0.5 on the left and 0.5 on the right, but the values on the top and bottom change with the aspect ratio. It's really kind of frustrating to deal with, but it's not too bad in this situation, because all we need to do is account for the fact that the circle is drawn at a different ratio. It's not actually a square. So I'm going to go over here, and instead of just radius x, I can multiply that times 16/9. So I'm applying the aspect ratio to the radius of the circle. And I think that should solve the problem. It is on the bottom, and I'll do the same thing for the top. Okay, so that's working. That shows you a little bit about how aspect ratios can be annoying. In some cases, the value, if we're looking at the minimum and maximums, and they're 0 to 1. On the vertical, they're also going to be 0 to 1. But in this case, where we've got 0, 0 in the middle, we're talking about the location of the circle. It goes from -0.5 to 0.5, but then vertically, it is not the same if it's not a square image. So it's a little frustrating to deal with. In this case, it wasn't too hard to make that solution, but that is how we can get this kind of DVD logo bouncing around. Now, let's look at a totally different thing. I want, I'm going to make another circle. Probably shouldn't have deleted it. Let's see. I'm going to make a circle, and I'm going to make a couple rectangles as well. This is kind of like a Pong sort of situation. So I'm going to take these two rectangles. Actually, I'll say everything needs to have a common resolution, which is 720p. I want the circle to be much smaller. Whoops, let's fix that. I want the circle to be much smaller, and I'll say these guys should be narrower and shorter. Okay, this one is going to be justified to the left, and this one's going to be on the right. So we've got something that sort of looks like Pong. Now, if I want to see all of these on the screen at once, I can add an out here to get it to show up on the perform window, but I'm going to have to composite these together. So I will add a composite top and select all of these guys and make that connection. Of course, it's the default operation is a multiply, which doesn't help us, but I can do something like add or over, and it'll show me all of them. Okay, so if I connect that here, I would be able to see everything on the output. Okay, now what I want is to, again, make this this thing start moving. So I'll do speed chop, and I'll feed it some constant to tell it how fast to go. And I'll do the same thing. I'll just add a null, and I will make that null the center X for my circle. So if I want to start that up, I can see that it'll start going. And down here, it just goes right through the Pong paddle, and that's not what we want. So I'm going to reset the speed and get everything back in the middle. Now, there's an interesting thing that I've shown in other videos, which is how to tell if these things are colliding, right? So if the circle hits the Pong paddle, then we want to know about it and cause our speed to be reversed. It's basically the idea. So I'm going to, one thing I'm going to do is say, what are my obstacles? I'm going to put those together with a composite. I'm going to make a picture of what all the obstacles are. So that's my two Pong paddles. And if I do an add or an over here, there, I've got all of the obstacles in one thing. And what I want to do is compare those obstacles to my circle and see if they are hitting each other. So I'm going to do another composite here. And if I do multiply, we know that if it shows up, if those things show up in the same place, it will appear in here. If they don't, then it won't. So let's see if we can start the movement again and see it happen. So here my circle is starting to move, and now you can see it starts appearing wherever there's an overlap between the circle and the paddles. So that's useful information. And I think rather than a picture of that circle making its way through, what I'd like to do is use the analyze top and tell it to give me the maximum pixel. Let's see how this works. So I will again turn up the speed, and let's see what it looks like. So what happens is as soon as there's anything here, any kind of pixel other than nothing, it just fills this up with that pixel. So this is literally showing me a single pixel that represents kind of a summary of what's happening in here, right? So if there's any white, then this will show up totally white. And by the way, this has a size of 256 by 256. Could be 1 by 1, probably. It's just a pixel, a color. Now, what I want to do is change that to a chop so that I can actually see the color that's happening. Right now, the color is 0 for R, G, B, and A. But if we reset the speed, we should see when it goes through and it turns white, they all turn to 1 for an instant. So let's take that, what is essentially an on-off, right? And I don't really care about the green, the blue, or the alpha, so I'll get rid of those. So I have one channel that is 0 when the paddle is not colliding with the circle and is 1 when it is. So this is useful information. I think, honestly, the easiest way to move forward from here is to add a chop execute. And we'll run a little bit of Python whenever that changes from 0 to 1. So I'll drag this over here to say this is the chop that should be connected to this script. And I will add one line in here, which is, first of all, I have to say it's not when the value changes, it's when the value goes from off to on. So anytime it goes from 0 to 1, I want to I want to call this function, which is just this one little bit of Python. So I'm going to say the constant 1, let's look back here. Constant 1 is this, right? Constant 1. It has a value here, 0.31 at the moment. That is a parameter called const 0 value. So what I want to do is anytime this goes from off to on, I want to change the constant 1 operators const 0 value parameter to equal whatever it was before times -1. And there's a shortcut for doing that. It's just times equals -1. So what's going to happen is if it's 0.3 right now, when it hits a paddle, it'll become -0.3 and it'll start going the other way. So a negative number fed into the speed chop will make it go in reverse, right? So let's see if this works. I think it should. Let's make it bigger and let's reset the speed. I'll get rid of the window there and well, I guess I can't, right? Let's bring that back. I will make it start moving and we see that it goes back and forth. You can see right here, it lights up every time it hits something that is an obstacle. And then it calls this bit of Python, which reverses the speed. So let's see if we can see that happen. It's a positive number. And no, sorry, here. It's the actual acceleration is changing from positive to negative, which causes the speed to go in one direction or the other. There's an interesting thing that you can do here too, which is if we look at this slope chop, this can come in handy too. It's a negative number when this value is going down, and it's a positive number when it's going up. So that could be useful. I mean, in this case, we already know that information, but it is useful to know that slope will tell us if a value is going up or down. So these are two different ways of solving this problem. It's not the same problem, right? Like I suppose I could do something similar with my first example if I had a white border around the screen. Even a very small 1 pixel border might work. But in this case, this is leading to something more like a Pong game. But if we, and I guess I can demonstrate that, right? Like if I take this and move it slightly down, we should see that it does work here, which is very interesting, right? Because it's catching just the point where they connect. And of course, if I move it out of the way, it will keep going. Oh, there we go. It's not exactly right? Because this we'd have to do a little more trickery to make this work like Pong. But the other thing I wanted to show you is that this is more useful than the other version because in the first iteration of this kind of bouncing ball thing, I was using the radius of the circle to determine whether it had hit the edge of the screen. Well, that doesn't quite work if the shape changes. So let's make this a polygon. And maybe it's a triangle that is actually rotated a bit, right? This will still work. The other one won't. This would, the other one where we're just focused on the radius would be kind of giving us this false circle that's a bubble that determines whether it's hitting an obstacle or not, where this one that is actually looking at pixel values works no matter what the shape is or what angle it's at. So that's useful to know. Okay, I hope that helps.